Chapter 5, The Mission. The next morning, the brothers waited on the dock for Claire, their hooded sweatshirts warm against the early chill. They wore sneakers with socks, brown from yesterday's dirt, and their t-shirts were wrinkled from having slept in them. Neither boy was fussy about his wardrobe. As they looked across the lake to the island, they felt hopeful. Their treetops were awash in sunlight. The sun was clear, and their favorite cousin was coming with them. Their jitters from yesterday's storm had vanished. "I bet Claire can help us find more clues," Jeff said. "Me too," said David. After breakfast, the boys had made a caboose for their canoe. The caboose is typically you talk about a caboose on a train, and it's the last car on a train. So here the boys are going to use their canoe, so they made something to pull with their canoe. Actually, it was just an old rowboat that had been stored in their shed. Their plan was to put 3 dogs in it and all their supplies, then tow it with a rope. After hunting around their yard and garden, they found a lot of interesting junk. Along with camping gear, they loaded the boat with a bucket of golf balls, a shower curtain, a chair, and a stool. Their toolkit had an axe for chopping wood, a hammer and nails, and a saw for trimming dangerous branches. The largest object was part of a picket fence that David dragged out from behind the garage. It was just a few feet long, but attached to it was a little gate on hinges. "This might come in handy," he told Claire when she arrived with Yum Yum in her arms. Yum Yum's nails were pink today, matching Claire's fresh nail polish. "Are we building a clubhouse?" she asked. "A fort," the boys answered. They didn't want to hurt her feelings, but a fort was more rugged than a clubhouse. "Claire, we'll let you pick the name, but first you have to promise us something." "That depends," she said. "Claire," Jeff's voice was serious. As the eldest and tallest of the 3, he wanted to be a good leader. "Dad told us he had a personal mystery to solve, but we don't know what he meant. So if we keep our mission secret, just the 3 of us, then we can get to the bottom of the legend. There might be treasure and blood-curdling details," David added. He and his brother weren't ready to mention the buried foot. Not yet. "Okay," she said. David put his hand on Claire's shoulder. "So that means not telling any of your friends. Not one. Because they'll tell their friends. Then our island will be swarming with kids, like at the mall. Get it?" Claire raised her chin, giving each boy a queenly look. She kneeled on the dock to put Yum Yum into the rowboat and then her pink backpack. "Claire," said Jeff, "this is really important." "I won't breathe a word," she said. "I heard you the first time." It was almost noon by the time the kids unloaded their equipment on shore. They sat on the beach to eat their sandwiches and make plans. David took out his pad and pencil to draw a map of the island. "See, this is where Jeff and I were yesterday." He marked an X with tiny arrows to show where they had hiked. "I say we look around right here." Then another X. Then, just for fun, David made a quick sketch of their dogs, a terrier, a lab, and a poodle wearing party hats. Jeff liked his brother's artwork. "Excellent idea," he said. "I'm ready." "Then let's go," said Claire. David folded his map into his pocket. "Onward," he cried. Okay, and chapter 6 is called Another Discovery. The cousins agreed to spread out. For half an hour, they crunched through the woods, searching for clues. A crackle came through Jeff's walkie-talkie. "Guys, I found something. Over." "Where are you, Claire?" "Over." "Here, to your left. Over." Jeff and David looked up. Claire was waving to them through the trees. When she pointed to an old log cabin up ahead, the boys ran to see. It was square, with one wall crumbled down and the door missing. The wood was gray from age. Most curious of all was the pine tree growing up through part of the slanted roof. Its branches supported the beams, giving the appearance of a treehouse. "Wow," David said. "Can you believe it? The place looks ancient." "Well, guys, here's our fort," said Jeff. He had to duck under a branch to enter. As they cleared away piles of leaves and pine cones, they found what was left of a stone fireplace. A cast iron kettle was in the rubble. Jeff looked up through the crumbling chimney. "Let's get some mud and fix this," he said. "Then we can cook." Even though a wall was missing, the cabin was cozy. The tree filled part of the gap, creating a natural break from the wind, and there were knot holes in its trunk where small animals had once nested. There's a picture of what that cabin looks like with the tree growing through it. After Claire brushed out the twigs and feathers from these holes, they made perfect little shelves. They were tiny, but she was able to fit her flashlight in one and her compass in another. She squished a Ziploc bag of Band-Aids into the smallest knothole. "Here," she said. "Home sweet home. Who do you think lived here?" Jeff held up a rusty trap. Its steel jaws were locked shut. "Maybe a mountain man," he answered. He handed the trap to his younger brother, who examined it carefully. "Definitely," David said, "but Mr. Welbeck would know for sure." "Who?" "The old man who lives up the canyon from us," said Jeff. "Everyone in town calls him Grumpy Gus, but we call him Mr. Welbeck." "Why is that?" "It's the way he starts his stories," Jeff said. "He always says, 'Well, back in the olden days.' Anyway, you'll see. Hey, we should ask him to tell us more about this place. Let's visit him as soon as we get home." David said, "Okay, I just hope he's not in a bad mood again." The cousins carried their gear to the cabin from shore, making many trips. Jeff remained watchful. So far, it seemed they were the only ones on the island. When Tessie grew tired, Claire spread a blanket in the shade where the old dog had settled down to rest. Soon, everything was stored along the walls of their fort. Jeff and David used the chair to climb onto the roof. They nailed down the plastic shower curtain around where the pine tree had grown through the shingles. Now, if it rained, the cabin would be less likely to leak. "What did Uncle Russell mean by blood curdling?" Claire asked the boys about their father's mystery. "Is there really treasure and a robber's cave?" "I think so," replied Jeff. "Dad said that in the olden days there was a horrible crime out here, but no one knew exactly what had happened. He wanted to find out the truth, for personal reasons, he told us." "What did he mean by personal?" she asked. Jeff shrugged. "That's what we want to find out." The last item brought from the rowboat was David's picket fence. It fit in the empty wall, wedged against the tree, and the gate was now their front door. Tessie, Rascal, and Yum Yum went up to sniff it. They put their noses between the slats to look out. David stood back to admire his work. So did Claire. Then she offered her opinion. "I think it looks like an ice cream stand." "Well, I like it," David said, "and so do the dogs."